In the quiet stillness of 9th June 2023, at around 1:04 a.m., echoes the desperate cries of a child yearning for her mother's embrace. She seeks solace from the one she trusts, the beacon of joy in her world. But instead, she finds disappointment, abandoned by the one meant to offer her safety and love. As tears stain her pillow, she wonders, where is the angel who once comforted me? Among the many cases I've covered here, none have pierced my heart like this one. A case that had a detective who has worked numerous horrendous cases, hearing the trembling voice of a medical examiner as she read out the autopsy report, and seeing a judge's sorrowful gaze as he delivers his verdict. Welcome back to my channel, guys. On the 6th of June 2023, Crystal Candelario, a 32-year-old mother of two, was getting ready for a trip. She packed her bags with probably bikinis, pretty dresses, and fancy outfits, while her 16-month-old daughter Jaylin played in her playpen nearby, probably smiling and adoring her mom. You know how kids look at their moms with so much love and trust, right? I'm sure Jaylin had that look, completely unaware of the tragedy looming ahead. As Crystal got ready, she packed a few bottles of milk for Jaylin, probably even tousled her hair and even pinched her cheeks before leaving the house, her daughter watching without knowing the nightmare awaiting her. Crystal went ahead on a 10-day vacation with a male friend to Puerto Rico, posting pictures on social media for everyone to see the fun she was having. Meanwhile, her 16-month-old daughter was left alone, hungry, scared, and sitting in her own mess. Jaylin cried day and night, her desperate wails echoing through the West 97th Street of Cuyahoga County, Cleveland, but no one came to her rescue. Crystal never for once thought to call a neighbor or anyone at that to ask them to check on her daughter, just to make sure she was okay amidst the terrible situation. After having a blast at the beach in Puerto Rico and then another short stop in Detroit, Michigan to visit another male friend, the mother of the year returns to Cleveland to her child's dead body in her playpen, soiled with urine and feces. She went on to clean up her daughter, redressing her before finally calling the police. I can't help but wonder what she was thinking as she did all this. At first, she claimed her daughter was sick, and even as she spoke, you could see there was no hint of remorse in her voice. She spun her story, probably thinking she could get away with it, but soon enough, investigators discovered that Jaylin was severely dehydrated at the time of her death. The mother was arrested and pleaded guilty to aggravated murder and child endangerment in February of 2024. The county's medical examiner determined the 16-month-old died of starvation and severe dehydration and ruled her death a homicide. She said Jaylin's pack and play pen consisted of soiled blankets and a bottom liner saturated with urine and feces, and there was nothing left for her to eat and drink. She recounted Jaylin's excruciating final days. The pain and suffering Jaylin endured didn't just last hours or days. It might have stretched on for a whole week. Imagine being abandoned for days, all alone, the separation anxiety children her age go through, the hunger, the thirst. It's a kind of suffering that's hard to even imagine. This precious, innocent, beautiful baby was found dehydrated, emaciated, covered in urine and feces. Jaylin had sunken eyes, dry lips, fecal matter in her mouth and fingernails. The defense team argued that their client, Crystal, was struggling with depression and anxiety. They also said that she had stopped taking her medication, which might have affected her decision-making. Like, it's hard to believe. I wonder if some lawyers will make it to heaven. I don't care if it's their job. The prosecutors, on the other hand, painted a stark picture of the mother's selfishness. They described how she callously left her daughter without food or water while she frolicked on her vacation. As they presented their case, I couldn't help but feel a surge of anger and disbelief. How could someone prioritize their own pleasure over their child's well-being?
During the time that she has been locked up, she has been making plans for the future, talking to other folks and other other jails, other prisons. She had a conversation, which I find more disturbing than not, but on November 26, 2023, instead of wrought with emotion, wrought with guilt, crying about the death of her child, she's talking with a friend about her trip to Puerto Rico and what a blast it was and how much the car cost. And they got a truck versus a car, even though it was more expensive. And they were concerned about the other woman that was on the trip because she liked to spend money. And they spent money on food. There was never mention about her daughter in her phone calls. And in fact, she goes on to say, there are people who have gone free here, killing people. I mean, an accident. I mean, because it was not like I did it intentionally. It's not like I picked up a gun or a bat or the girl bled or something like that. That's it. Were you starved when you were in Puerto Rico, Miss Candelaria? Did you not have a glass of water to drink when your mouth was parched? The defense says, well, she's not going to do it again. Well, no, she's not going to do it again because she's going to prison. But it's the fact that she did it in the beginning that sticks with us. You don't do that. She was a mother. She got a title that means something in this world. Animals take care of their infants better. The thought of this child dying every day while she's having fun, humanity can't stomach that. And those are the actions that need to be punished. She abandoned her daughter and left her for dead. So, yeah, she didn't see blood. She didn't see the aftermath of a baseball bat. But what she did see were her eyes open, looking at her, saying, why did you do this to me?
The audacity of this woman to continue making plans for the future as if nothing had happened. Like, didn't she feel any remorse, any guilt for what she had done? And then to hear that she was actually reminiscing about the vacation that ultimately led to her daughter's death. How could she be so heartless? When I heard about the conversation with her mother, claiming that others had done worse and gotten away with it, I couldn't believe the arrogance to brush off her responsibility with such casual excuses. It was sickening. The judge did not hold back as he handed down the sentence.
The bond between a mother and a child is one of the most purest and most sacred bonds between human beings. It's a relationship built on love, trust, and unwavering protection. Yet, in a shocking betrayal of this fundamental trust, you committed the ultimate act of betrayal, leaving your baby terrified, alone, unprotected, to suffer what I heard was the most gruesome death imaginable, with no food, no water, no protection, and lying in her own feces for 10 days. This wasn't simply an oversight. You could have saved Jalen's life many times. You could have found someone to watch her while you were gone. You could have taken her with you. While you were in Detroit or Puerto Rico, you could have called someone in Cleveland and told them that Jalen needed help. It means she didn't die that long before you came home. Think about that. Despite all of her suffering, that little baby persevered, waiting for someone to save her. And you could have done that with a simple phone call. Instead, I see photos of you on a beach while your child was eating her own feces in an attempt to survive. When you got home, You knew enough to start lying. You concocted story after story, trying to hide what you did. As a court, I have to remember Jalen, where you did not. Just as you didn't let Jalen out of her confinement until she died, so too, you should spend the rest of your life in a cell without freedom. The only difference will be that prison will at least feed you and give you liquids that you deny her. Based on all these factors, based on all the things I've looked at, and I'm marking, I'm going to sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Crystal Candelario received a life sentence without parole for the death of her 16-month-old daughter, Jalen. Her harsh sentencing of life without parole came as a result of her decision to prioritize her vacation over her daughter's welfare, condemning her actions as a new low in parental care. I wish she would be left without food and water for the first 10 days. Let's see how that goes. This case really hits hard. It's breaking my heart. As a mom myself, I can't even imagine how someone could do this to their own baby, their own flesh and blood. She must have been so weak in her final days, just lying there as her life slipped away. Yes, Jalen's mom failed her, but it feels like the whole world failed her. The neighbors, the grandparents, everyone, we failed her. How could you hear a baby crying day and night and not do anything? How could you ignore the signs of neglect? You knew this woman had neglected her child before. It's like we've all become too wrapped up in our own lives to care about anyone else. If only someone had called the police or stepped in earlier, they could have saved her. This tragedy wouldn't have even happened. We need to do better as a society. Back in the day, neighbors looked out for each other, but now it feels like everyone just turns a blind eye. It's heartbreaking to think that my son could be in danger and no one will even bat an eye. Are you seriously telling me that a baby crying continuously for a week with no one going in or out of the house and the mother still posting online about her whereabouts didn't raise any concerns from the neighbors, the parents? You expect me to believe that hearing a baby cry so loudly from next door didn't set off any alarms? And you wouldn't think to call after just 2 days or at most 3 days. I'm glad the mother was sentenced, but I wish the punishment was harsher. Jail in the United States is too comfortable. She needs to experience even a fraction of what her daughter went through. That's how justice should work. And to any parents out there struggling, please and please seek help. Don't let your pride or fear get in the way of your child's safety. And to those in positions to help, please don't ignore cries for help. The neighbors knew something was wrong. The parents knew, and yet nothing was done. We can't let this happen again. We need to speak up. We could have saved Jalen. This is truly heartbreaking on so many levels. It's a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance and looking out for one another, especially when it comes to the safety and well-being of children. It's devastating to think that Jalen's suffering could have been prevented if only someone had intervened earlier. Every child deserves to grow up in a safe and loving environment, and it's up to all of us to make sure that happens. Let Jalen's story serve as a wake-up call, a reminder that we can't afford to turn a blind eye to the suffering of others. We must strive to be better neighbors, better friends, and better human beings. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section. Have you ever been in a situation where you've noticed something concerning about a child's well-being? How did you handle it? And what do you think we can do to encourage more people to speak up when they see something wrong? So I'm going to end it here, guys. Thanks for watching. Remember, every mystery holds a lesson, and every story sheds light on the darker corners of our world. Hit subscribe to stay updated on cases that will leave you questioning humanity and the depths of human actions. Let's unravel the mystery together.
And it haunts me somewhere much deeper.